All right, Jesse on fire. Let's talk about Francis Ngannou, because I know some things that some of you guys have probably heard alluded to, but I'm going to give you guys some details because Francis Ngannou is going to re-sign with the UFC, it sounds like. Sounds like he's going to re-sign with the UFC, and you know what that means. Well, maybe you don't. I'm going to tell you, though. I'm going to tell you exactly what it means because we're going to get a John Jones fight. But also, the nature with which Francis is re-signing with the UFC is very, very notable for a multitude of reasons, not the least of which is that he's doing it independently. Okay? Now, the vast majority of fighters have management. Francis no longer does. That was the result of Markel breaking off from CAA. Markel's doing a very exciting project that I'm pretty sure I'm actually not allowed to talk about, so I'm not going to. But when it came to, all right, well, so Francis needs new management. What's he going to do? Francis is going it alone. He's like, I'm just going to do this myself. And everything that happens in the UFC as it relates to money, whether it's new fights, whether it's someone signing a new contract, if you're talking about the big guys, has ripple effects, big ones. And someone signing a historically large contract negotiated themselves as a person with absolutely no formal education whatsoever, that is very notable. And I'm going to tell you what the ripple effects could be, and I'll tell you what I think about the John Jones fight, etc., so on, etc. Before I do, like I say in every single video, the agreement that we make, if you watch a lot of my content, you need to subscribe to the channel. You don't need to, but that's the jar at the front of the store. Just drop your little subscription in the thing. It's free. You just click it. I'm doing all the work, dude. I'm doing all the work. You just subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it very much. We had a historic day yesterday, a historic growth day. I gained 1,000 subscribers yesterday between my two channels. Almost 600 on this one and over 400 on Jesse on Everything, which, again, a historically large growth day. Thank you guys very much. And speaking of which, I want to talk to you guys about a new thing that I am going to do. So I've been thinking about this a lot, about how I can help people who want to do, who want to start a YouTube. I see all these programs. Oh my God, I want to start a YouTube and here, hey, let me help you. Let me help you. And I look at their stuff and I'm like, you, A, have not built a solid YouTube yourself. B, the ones who have, the only thing that you've done any content on is how to build a YouTube. You don't have any idea how to do it in a specific niche. So what I thought to myself is what about people who want to start an MMA YouTube or already have a small and growing MMA YouTube? And I was like, okay, how could I help them? And I could tell you exactly how. We're going to do podcast co-host for a day, show co-host for a day. Okay. So the details of this package are going to be on FanDandy. This is a new platform that's offering fan experiences. Chael has one on there. I have one on there. And you can go check out the details. It has literally all the details of exactly what this would look like. You'd be my co-host for a day. We do a pre-call. I'll go on your channel afterwards. And yeah, we could do that. And like I said, I did this thing. The way that I structured it is I was like, I would have done this without any shred of doubt when I was starting. As a matter of fact, I almost did this for 10 times the price. That's a true story, dude. I almost paid 10 times. Not 9, 10 times the price for this exact thing. But anyway, so go check it out. The link will be in the description, fandandy.com. Just go in the description, check out the link, click it, follow it, and you can see all the details if you're interested, and then you can inquire through that site. So anyway, so Francis Ngannou. Okay, so what do you need a manager for, right? What do you need a manager for, okay? The answer to that question is different for different people, right? And the value of a manager is different depending on who you are, or what manager you're with, right? Now, I have always had the public and private contention that the biggest value that a manager can provide you, if you're kind of a savvy person, is the collective bargaining. So as an example, Ali Abdelaziz has a lot of guys, dude. He's got a big stable of fighters where if he wants to make it ugly for the UFC, he can. Okay? He absolutely can. So there's a lot of value there because collectively the guys make more money and have better terms because they're on that team. If you're on a team where your manager has 2 to 3 people, 5, or even a big, large stable of people, but none of them are notable stars in the UFC. They don't have any leverage. Okay, that's just is what it is. And this is not a knock on any managers. It's just an objective fact. If you don't have any leverage, how are you going to negotiate with the UFC? Okay, so that's another thing. Now, other people are incredibly strong strategic minds, like where they're really genuinely strategically sound and also potentially have a big machine behind them. Like as an example, when Markel was his manager and they were at CAA, that's a big value right there. But there are lots of kind of management teams that like you have to look and you're like, what is this group going to provide from a value perspective? Like to this guy, like this is a middle road UFC fighter whose deal is going to be priced off of the same deals that are similar level fighters. He's not going to get much more or less. You're talking a few grand this way or that way. You have no leverage to make them offer you more. And so if the manager is not bringing you a bunch of external money from a bunch of other things that are not UFC contract related, what exactly is their value? Like seriously. What is their value? Now, in Francis's case, Francis threw caution to the wind, and he became the undisputed heavyweight champion and simultaneously an unrestricted free agent. So his leverage is absolutely enormous. We've talked about this a million times, okay? And at this point, Francis has heard all the songs and dances. He's like, I can do this myself. Now, one thing that he absolutely needs to do, and I hope that he knows this. Actually, I already know that he does. Come on. I already know he does. He has to have an attorney review the contract. That's critical. You can negotiate on your own with, again, I genuinely believe that contract negotiations come down to street smarts more than anything else. If obviously you need to have the ability to read a contract and kind of look for traps, look for traps. I actually realized today that I signed a contract without really looking for traps because I just wasn't even, it's a relatively simple engagement, but like I was thinking about it afterwards. I'm like, man, I did not vet that the way that I normally do. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. It's unrelated to this channel too. But yeah, so you need someone educated to review the contract. Now, if you're a person who's very, like I can review my own contracts. Like I always do have an attorney look at them generally if it's a big deal, but I can read contracts and I know what the language means. Okay. But I have a lot of experience doing this stuff. If you don't, you need an attorney to review it so they can tell you like, okay, so what this actually means is that they're promising you this. They don't actually have to give you this because it's contingent on this, and this. Okay. Now, unless you're 100% confident that you're going to be able to do this, and this, I don't see how you'd be able to control it. So there's a million ways this could not happen. This you can't control. There's a million ways this could not happen. So essentially this guarantee that they're providing you is not a guarantee at all. That kind of thing. And you want to know who's excellent at writing contracts in a way that is going to be favorable to the other party? The UFC, of course. What's Hunter's background? He's an attorney, a very, very smart one too. Very, very strategically sound. So like, as an example, let's just talk about this particular contract. Because I don't know, honest to God, all I know is what I have heard Francis was asking for before, which was he wanted to box and he wanted healthcare for UFC fighters. Okay, so let's just talk about the boxing one, just as a hypothetical example. Okay, so the way that you could write into a contract that you're going to support him going and boxing Tyson Fury when you have no intention whatsoever of doing that is you make it contingent on XYZ, right? So you're like, yeah, we're going to support you boxing if you fight and beat John Jones, if you defend your title 2-3 more times, whatever, like something to where you've like, if you're the company, you're like, first of all, this is unlikely to happen, but if it does, we'll have already extracted so much value out of this relationship that this thing that we don't actually want to do is probably worth it, Or they're like, okay, by the time he's done this, he'll be 40, and so if he goes and gets his ass kicked by Tyson Fury, who fucking cares, Like when I say that like people like us are negotiating 7 steps ahead, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where it's like, all right, so here, we're giving you this. It's in writing. It's just contingent on these things, and people look, and and you're also thinking like, how is he going to interpret this? Like he's going to think, of course he's going to beat John Jones. He's also going to think, of course he's going to defend against this guy. He's also here's this other he's going to think that this is going to be easy because all fighters think like this, And if we're looking at the timeline, What's the likelihood that he's incredibly valuable, 36 months from now, whatever? That means that most likely, in the event that we did have to fulfill this thing, it's not going to hurt us, right? It's not going to hurt us. It'll hurt us now, won't hurt us then. So here you go. Here's your offer. Now, I'm not saying Francis is dumb enough to sign a thing like that at all. I'm just saying that's why you need an attorney to make sure that there isn't anything in there like that you don't understand, because that's what a manager will do for you most of the time, But if Francis signs a historically large contract, which is probably exactly what's going to happen, given that he is an unrestricted free agent and the reigning heavyweight champion, and he does it without management, that's gonna matter, dude. It's because it has to, I think O'Malley is operating without management also, In all honesty, the main thing that that management will do for you, here's actually the main thing that they would do, is they can get nasty when you don't, and you don't have to, if you want to maintain a really healthy working relationship with Dana, Hunter, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, whoever, all these guys, right? But you want to drive a really hard bargain, then maybe you have someone else do it for you, Maybe you do, but in that case, you want to put someone on that'll drive a hard bargain, That's just is what it is. Again, in negotiation, you got two options, dude. You got two options to maximize value. One is you provide so much value across a large group, like a large swath of things, that you'll get favorable terms for the group. Alley. Or you are a hard-nosed prick that will drive an incredibly hard bargain. They will fucking hate you, right? They will fucking hate you, but you'll end up getting, favorable terms for your client because you made it so difficult to you wouldn't agree otherwise. And there are certain guys that just need to retain certain guys. If you're outside the certain guys that need to be retained, there's no manager that's going to be able to help you. There's no it just doesn't matter. You have no fucking value, that's just the honest truth. There are big name guys. What you would consider big name, not huge, but big enough that you all know who they are. Where if they tried to play hardball with the UFC, nothing would happen. Nothing. The UFC would be like, okay, bye. You're under contract. You have 2 more fights. We'll give them to you, but bye. And the thing is I think a lot of fighters don't realize when they go from that status to something else. I heard, and I don't know if this is true, I heard Colby signed a contract that did not have back-end points on the Masvidal fight. If that's true, and he was operating without management, then that is exactly what I'm talking about. Literally exactly. Because he got fucked with so hard when he was the interim champ because he didn't have value yet. He wasn't that valuable. And so he was scared the UFC was going to freeze him out again. And he didn't realize he had tremendous value at that time to drive a really hard bargain for the Masvidal fight and his contract afterwards. He's a fucking star now. He's one of the main guys you can build a narrative around. So if he signed that contract, I would be unhappy for him, because I think he deserves it. He did a shitload of work, man. But anyway, hopefully we get Francis signed. We get to see John Jones. It'll be fantastic. Like I said, if you're interested in being my co-host for the day, Fan Dandy, the link is going to be in the description. You go check out all the terms and inquire about it. So anyway, love you guys. Peace.